There are cases involving over 200 billion shillings in various anti-corruption courts. Kenyatta last year exuded confidence that the state of the nation is strong. Tonight we ask, is it still strong? Our reporters have the latest from the 47 counties. Dennis Otieno will be joining us for Matters Sports. Dennis, it's a 1-1 draw for Harambee Stars tonight.
Bakar, it is a 1-1 draw for Harambee Stars being forced to share spoils against Comoros. Now, aside from that, we also have some rugby lined up for you. The Shujaa getting prepared for the new season. That and more coming your way. Abu Bakar.
Dennis Otieno will be joining us later on the broadcast. But first, these are the stories making headlines tonight. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe adamant that NHIF will not foot COVID-19 hospital bills, even as he expresses doubts over the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Also tonight, Education CS George Magoha to summon stakeholders to draw the examination timetable and the curriculum expansion strategy in keeping with the spirit of saving the 2020 academic year. Plus, President Uhuru Kenyatta to speak on the performance of his government on the various fronts, including the fight against COVID-19 and the emotive BBI report in a State of the Nation address in Parliament tomorrow. And NMS Director assures that the iconic fig tree along Waiyaki Way will not be a victim of the expressway, unlike Kenha had directed a while back. Good evening. Ann Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. I'm Abu Bakar Abdullahi. Health CS Mutahi Kagwe has ordered the Kenya Medical and Supplies Authority KEMSA to release PPEs and face masks to counties at the current price. Kagwe, while giving a status report before Senate's Health Committee, also says the National Hospital Insurance Fund will not be able to cover COVID-19 patients in both public and private hospitals. Our health reporter Zainab Mohammed begins our broadcast tonight.
To answer Honorable Koros is one thing before I hand it over to Daniel Yumbia.
While giving a status report before Senate's Health Committee, Health CS Mutahi Kagwe has ordered the Kenya Medical and Supplies Authority KEMSA to release PPEs and face masks to counties at the current market price. According to Kagwe, even though KEMSA will face huge losses in the process, the Medical and Supplies Authority will not be unique, as most sectors in government continue to face huge losses 8 months into the COVID-19 pandemic.
There has been a lot of fear within KEMSA that whatever decision they take, if they take the decision to dispose these masks and PPEs to the counties at a less price that they bought it as, that eventually there will be audit queries that you then bring them here to answer the questions. But we have made it clear, Madam Chair, in the discussions with this committee in the past, that there is not a single institution that is not going to take some sort of hit, economic hit in the country.
The CS further says the National Hospital Insurance Fund (NHIF) will not be able to cover COVID-19 patients in both public and private hospitals. Kagwe insists the cost of COVID-19 tests and treatment is too high, making it financially impossible for the government to cover the millions of Kenyans under the insurance fund. This is as the number of COVID-19 infections in the country rises to 65,804 cases after 1,216 more people tested positive for the virus in the last 24 hours. 531 people have recovered as 26 more people succumbed to the virus. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Well, still on matters Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has casted doubt on the effectiveness of the newly speculated Pfizer vaccine, a COVID-19 vaccine developed by American pharmaceuticals giant Pfizer and their German partners BioNTech in the war against COVID-19 pandemic.
Appearing before the Senate's Health Committee on Wednesday, Kagwe has said treatment of COVID-19 should be prioritized over prevention if the COVID-19 is to be won. David Mudoka reports.
Barely 2 days after American pharmaceutical giants Pfizer and their German partners BioNTech SE announced that their vaccine, dubbed Pfizer vaccine, was 90% effective in preventing COVID-19, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has poked holes at the vaccine, saying he is yet to understand how it works.
To respond, but I think I just want to make two things clear.
Appearing before the Senate Health Committee, led by Murang'a woman Representative Sabina Chege on Wednesday, Kagwe has reiterated that if the COVID-19 war is to be ultimately won, treatment ought to precede prevention, adding that he cannot understand how one will be injected with a disease to keep the virus at bay.
My issue is, I am told that this vaccine is supposed to stop you. It's supposed to stop you from getting the virus. They have tested, I don't know how many people, and they have stopped them from getting the virus. I know of somebody who shares a bedroom with somebody who is positive, and the person doesn't have the virus.
Should the Pfizer vaccine be given a green light by the World Health Organization (WHO) for global distribution, people aged between 16 and 85 years will be viable for immunization, with its cost set to be 300 Kenyan shillings per dose. Scientists have termed the Pfizer vaccine as a critical milestone in the vaccine development program at a time when the world needs it most, with infection rates setting new records, hospitals nearing overcapacity, and economies struggling to reopen. Over 51 million people worldwide have contracted COVID-19, while 1.27 million others have succumbed to the virus 11 months since the novel coronavirus first struck in Wuhan, China. David Muthoka, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, education stakeholders are set to meet on Monday next week to deliberate on the school calendar and the recovery of the lost year. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education is blaming parents for the continued spread of COVID-19 in schools.
Education stakeholders are set to meet on Monday next week to deliberate on the school's calendar ahead of the projected schools reopening in January.
I have called for a meeting of stakeholders for Monday of next week, where we shall affirm exactly now that we know how dangerous the virus is, even though we are not following it, because I can see in Machakos the compliance rate is very low. You are mnajikombatiana tu. But so there we shall decide on the timetable for the exams, and then the roadwork towards the end of next year.
Education CS George Magoha says there is no going back in the programmed school reopening in January next year. Speaking at Chemutheke Primary School in Machakos County, where he was supervising the ongoing school desks program, Magoha said that the government was very keen on ensuring all learners resume learning after nearly a year break occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic.
Because as you are aware, our children will come back to school in January of next year. And when they come back, they need to have a timetable.
Meanwhile, Education PS Belio Kipsang is accusing parents of aiding the spread of COVID-19 in schools.
Where we have so huge numbers of people out there participating in political gatherings in the most indisciplined way, where you see most of them are not in any preventive ways, in masks or anything else, get the disease out there and bring it to our children in their homes. And our children innocently take it to school, and those who are in school take it to innocent parents out there.
The PS was appearing before the Senate Committee on Health.
Well, the director of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development is opposed to the idea of scrapping off some topics in the syllabus in a bid to save time lost in the 2020 school calendar. According to him, if this is effected, then it will water down the quality of education in the country. Our Education Affairs reporter Sharon Baranga met with him and has filed the following report.
In recent days, there has been a debate on how best to save the 2020 school calendar in such a way that learners who are still at home will be in a position to proceed to the next class. This was after a number of them panicked, feeling they will be forced to repeat a class. Some stakeholders in the education sector proposed reduction of some content in the subjects to focus on key topics, which will pave way to compressing of the content learners ought to be taught. But the director of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, Professor Charles Ogondo, is not in support of the...
When we develop curricula, as you say, you set topics, subtopics, and sometimes we have what we call subtopics of what learners would learn over the curriculum period. For example, in the current system, 8 years of primary, 4 years of secondary. In the new system, 6 years of primary, 3 years of junior secondary, 3 years of senior secondary. Now, when you do that, then the most important point is to decide which topics are prerequisite. What is it that learners need to learn before they learn further topics, So it is not a very easy decision to decide that you combine topics or subtopics.
Ogondo says consolidating of Term 1 and 2 work for the next class and transition all learners will also affect the quality of education.
We can save time, but we shall be detrimental to the child, because then they will not have given them the prerequisites that they need to be able to progress well into the subsequent topics.
And what is the way forward?
If we can reduce the time we spend on the school holidays without removing them, because still our learners have to take a break. For example, in the third term, you are aware that schools close just around 8th to 10th of November normally. There's nothing stopping us from having learners go up to the middle of December, around 15th of December. That will be a lot of weeks already saved. We can also think about adding an hour or two, because you don't want to overload the learners, to the normal school hours. You know, if we are going to normally begin teaching at 8:30, then we stop teaching at 3:30. Can we start teaching at 7:30 and stretch our teaching time up to maybe about 4 o'clock without removing the time these children should have for playing?
Education stakeholders continue to crack the mathematics into how they will save the lost school calendar. The competency-based curriculum also has its share of challenges that shot out as a result of the pandemic.
In school component, which learners do with the support of their teachers and within the school environment. So I would say in terms of challenges, that has been grossly affected by the COVID-19, because as you are aware, we sent learners home and therefore we stopped doing what we were doing in school.
However, teachers want the learners in school to continue with classes, as there is a worry of contracting and spreading the COVID-19 virus if permitted to go home. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Moving on, the Pubs, Entertainment and Restaurant Association has condemned the vandalism of property in bars by police officers as they conduct enforcement of COVID-19 regulations even before the curfew hours. The association has urged the Ministry of Health to publish the protocols developed, which will provide the necessary guidelines to the officers as they conduct the operations. Nanok Lorraine has the details.
During the ongoing operations to enforce COVID-19 regulations led by police officers in different parts of the country have led to the arrest of many, and some bar owners witnessing destruction of their property, an act the Pubs, Entertainment and Restaurants Association, PERAC, has condemned.
We have also painfully witnessed the destruction of property and investments by some police officers, in some cases long before the designated closing time, which risk of malice is clearly an illegality. And we have asked the Inspector General of Police to advise police officers across the country against that kind of retrogressive behavior.
The organization now wants the Ministry of Health to hasten the publication process of operating procedures that were developed to aid in guiding the law enforcers.
We got together, developed the protocols, but unfortunately, up to now, these protocols that should have been entrenched in law are yet to be published by the Ministry of Health. We urge the ministry to speed up the publication as the regulation would give much needed guidance.
And as police officers continue to intensify enforcement of COVID-19 regulations in the country, security officers in Murang'a County have enforced a crackdown on those flouting COVID-19 rules, with 5 eateries and a number of bars being shut down.
Kuna tu hoteli zenye asijamit the health guidelines, wengi hawana thermogun, wengine ile social distance hakuna. So hizo hoteli tumefunga kama hoteli 5.
So far, more than 200 people have been arrested for violating COVID-19 guidelines. Anok Lauren, TV47.
You're watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi. 9:15 p.m. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back with more after this break. Stay tuned.
Life is a journey, and we all have ups and downs, highs and lows, and celebrities are no exception.
Do you know I couldn't pay rent? Do you know there's a time I went 3 days without food? If you read my book, I ate Colgate for dinner.
On Coffee with Mbuvi, we get up close and personal.
Nilizaliwa hivyo. Yes. Mimi sijawahi ona.
We have candid conversations that are inspiring.
Na acha nikwambie, mtu mmebarikiwa na mlikuwa nyote mko kwa line, mko kwa foleni. Huyu akibarikiwa sio ametoka, bado foleni inasonga. Wewe ni next.
Humorous.
This is going to be the craziest interview ever.
And life-changing.
Success is value system and the legacy you leave.
Coffee with Mbuvi, every Sunday at 8 p.m. only on TV47. Every muscle, every bone is our concern.
A lot of pressure with both your hands, you're going to collapse the infant's chest.
Any pain.
There you go. You can calm down, calm down, calm down.
Any discomfort. We have just the right doctor.
I'm a consultant breast surgeon.
I'm an emergency care specialist.
A chiropractor.
With just the right remedy.
Majority of patients will actually just require supportive treatment.
Join us on Body Garage every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. because we care. How do you like your meals? Sweet and tasty or spicy and savory? On the Throwdown, we bring you our chef of the day. He gives you ideas on how to make amazing meals from the comfort of your home. Every Sunday from 6:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching your channel of choice, the county's television, with me, Abubakar Abdullahi. Let's get to more news now, and only a few members will be allowed in the National Assembly chambers tomorrow as President Uhuru Kenyatta addresses the nation through Parliament. The President's second last address is expected to take stock of his administration's Big Four agenda, the looming referendum, as well as the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic.
The President is expected to address the nation tomorrow through Parliament, where only a handful of members are expected to be in the National Assembly chamber, where the President is going to make his address. According to Senate Speaker Kenneth Lusaka, around 140 members of Parliament will be in the chambers as per the COVID-19 guidelines.
Taken all the measures to ensure that only a few, up to only about 140 members will be in the main chamber, National Assembly chamber, where the President will be. The rest of the members, if there are members of Senate, they will follow the proceedings from our chamber here, and the others from the National Assembly, and maybe those who will not be able to, who will not fit in our chamber here, will be accommodated in the tents.
Senate Majority Leader Samuel Pogisio says the majority and minority sides of the House have given the list of their members who will be in the chamber, assuring members that will follow the address in the extended chambers.
The majority and leader of minority to pick those who will be in the main chamber and those who will be following it from our own chamber. Really, there shouldn't be a big issue, because they will miss nothing. Everybody will be able to follow what is going on. In any case, most of the meetings these days have become virtual.
A bill has been devised to be able to deal with the situation. It means just a few senators and a few members of the National Assembly will be in the chamber. It will be a very small number. I of course can't give you the numbers, but the idea is even all the other chambers, including our own chamber, will be used.
Majority of the members of Parliament are expecting that President Uhuru Kenyatta will address the COVID-19 economic recovery and BBR report, as well as a looming referendum.
COVID-19, which has devastated the economy, and one of the areas that has really been hit hard is in the area of employment, especially the youth and the people who are working in, say, the hotel industry, tourist industry. Those have really been hit hard. So I think we expect that we should be able to come up with measures that are going to mitigate against what has happened to people who had employment and now cannot go about their business because of the COVID. So
what else is there? The difficulties, the challenges that the country has faced, the economy, the state of the economy as it is, and the state of the economy as we envisage it will be maybe before the end of the next financial year. So those are the kind of things that we'll expect. We expect that he will spend the time in explaining to us.
The COVID-19 pandemic and BBR report are likely to be major issues in the State of Nation address. The address coming amidst the divided Jubilee Party. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi.
Nairobi Metropolitan boss Mohamed Badi now says the iconic fig tree along Waiyaki Way will not be uprooted or relocated following a presidential directive. Badi says the more than 100-year-old tree will continue to sit at its pace even as construction of the expressway continues. Andrin Kilemi has more.
As the government continues to clear structures along the areas marked for the 27.1-kilometer Nairobi Expressway, the fig tree along Waiyaki Way has continued to elicit a heated debate among locals and environmentalists, even as they protest against uprooting or the transfer of the tree. Nairobi Metropolitan Services has, however, said that the tree will be spared.
Now, the specific purpose of me coming here is to assure members of public and all those concerned from conservation that this tree will be preserved, that whatever development that is going to happen here will not touch this tree.
An earlier attempt to relocate the tree was opposed by the Kikuyu Council of Elders due to the significance of the tree in the Kikuyu culture. Speaking at the site, NMS Director General Mohamed Badi said a fence will be erected around the tree to protect the cultural tree. Badi says this followed a presidential directive.
We as NMS, we do everything possible to make sure that all the green spaces in Nairobi are preserved, and those that have been grabbed. I think I've said this before, we are going to go after those grabbed lands that were having like gardens or green spaces, and we are going to reclaim them and then put up the green spaces if it is children's playground.
A month ago, Kenya National Highway Authority said the tree, which has been around for close to 100 years, would be relocated as part of environmental conservation. In October this year, environmental activists staged a protest against the move. Andrin Kilemi, TV47.
Elsewhere, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, has warned leaders against misuse of the internet in spreading hate speech as the nation prepares for a possible referendum and the 2022 general elections. NCIC Commissioner Abdulaziz Farah noted that social media has become the main distributor of hate speech and incitement within the country, stating that the same has to come to an end. Speaking in Nakuru County during a consultative meeting with officers from the Director of the Criminal Investigations and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, he also mapped Nakuru County among the violence-prone areas, stating that they will keep sharp focus on what leaders say at rallies and meetings.
In Kenya. And so we need to deal with it. All of us as Kenyans, individually, collectively, in all sectors, from the media, from the political class, from the business class, and everybody, so that we don't lose our country and we don't go back to where we were in 2007 and 2008.
We are ready where there will be those cases that relate to hate speech. We will be able to deal with them, irrespective of your social status. Like the CCI has told you, 2 of those cases, I believe, involve members of parliament.
Is that those people, those group, they should desist from those utterances that can bring about, they can start contempt, ethnic contempt, and therefore, being that Nakuru is a cosmopolitan county and with very many of the ethnic groups, it's very easy for such thing to happen if incited.
Well, from Nakuru County, you are watching the county's television with me, Abu Bakr Abdullahi. Time for us to take another short break. We'll be back with more news after this break. Don't go too far.
Life is a journey, and we all have ups and downs, highs and lows, and celebrities are no exception.
Do you know I couldn't pay rent? Do you know there's a time I went 3 days without food? If you read my book, I ate Colgate for dinner.
On Coffee with Movie, we get up close and personal.
Nilizaliwa hivyo. Yes. Mimi sijawahi ona.
We have candid conversations that are inspiring.
Na acha nikwambie, mtu mmebarikiwa na mlikuwa nyote mko kwa line, mko kwa foleni. Huyu akibarikiwa si ametoka, bado foleni nasonga. Wewe ni next.
Humorous.
This is going to be the craziest interview ever.
And life-changing.
Success is value system and the legacy you leave.
Coffee with Movie, every Sunday at 8 p.m. only on TV47.
Every muscle, every bone is our concern.
A lot of pressure with both your hands, you're going to collapse the infant's chest.
Any pain.
There you go. You can calm down, calm down, calm down.
Any discomfort. We have just the right doctor.
I'm a consultant breast surgeon.
I'm an emergency care specialist.
A chiropractor.
With just the right remedy.
Majority of patients will actually just require supportive treatment.
Join us on Body Garage every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. because we care. How do you like your meals? Sweet and tasty or spicy and savory? On the Throwdown, we bring you our chef of the day. Gives you ideas on how to make amazing meals from the comfort of your home. Every Sunday from 6:30 p.m.
To Mombasa. Call us today and book your staycation spot.
Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight. Now, Ford Kenya lawmakers from Bungoma County now want Tongaren MP Eseli Simiyu and his Kandunyi counterpart Wafula Wamunyinyi to respect the court ruling which suspended the party's NDC meeting set for November 21st. Mike Kagwongo now reports.
Speaking in Bungoma County, the legislators led by party leader Moses Wetangula said Eseli Simiyu and Wafula Wamunyinyi have no powers to convene any meeting in the name of the party as they were excommunicated.
Na zaidi ya hapo, Mheshimiwa Eseli akatakiwa kujibu madai ya kukaidi mamlaka ama sheria mahakama, na tunaomba katika maombolezi yetu katika mahakama kwamba akamatwe na awekwe korokoroni kwa kutofuata kufuata sheria.
Na kwa nini tunaumia Webuye West? Kwa nini Bungoma County? Because tulielect maaskari wengi wakaenda kwa bunge.
Kulingana na katiba ya chama cha Ford Kenya, mwenyekiti party leader ndiye ako na uongozi, yeye ndiye ako na uamuzi, uwezo wa kudirect kusema ati uchaguzi utafanyika.
Earlier on, Wetangula's faction sought court orders to bar Eseli from transacting any business in the party, and yesterday's ruling barred his meeting scheduled for November 21st at Bomas of Kenya in Nairobi. The wrangles in Ford Kenya began when Eseli Simiyu and Wafula Wamunyinyi resorted to an attempted coup aiming to oust Wetangula as their leader over what they termed as poor leadership.
Wananchi wa Bungoma County wamehuzunishwa sana na utendaji kazi duni. Na badala ya kurekebisha mambo ya kazi wananchi wafurahi, anaingilia mambo ya chama yasiyomhusu.
Ninajua ya kwamba hao pengine wana mipango tu yao ya kuenda kukula, lakini sio uchaguzi wa chama.
Meanwhile, the legislators want a national consensus before BBI report is passed.
Iwapo BBI inahusisha kila mtu, ni lazima watu wadogo wakubwa, maskini, matajiri, vilema waliotimamu wapewe nafasi katika meza majadiliano.
Further, they called on the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC to investigate Bungoma County government officers over allegations of misappropriation of over 213 million shillings set aside for combating COVID-19 pandemic in the county.
Governor amechukua hizi pesa ndizo anazofanyia mikutano ya delegates haramu. Hii mikutano yote tunauliza EACC, hizi pesa za mikutano nje ya Bungoma, governor anatoa wapi?
Hizo pesa hatuoni hata ishara hata moja kule Mount Elgon.
Reporting for TV47 from Bungoma, I'm Mike Kagwongo.
Elsewhere, the BBI report is likely to be derailed by the ongoing threats and blackmails from the key players in the implementation of the report. The Council of Governors and members of the county assemblies have already threatened to oppose the report if their proposals are not included. And as Josh Onsare now reports, Deputy President William Ruto is also pushing for the amendment of the report.
The Building Bridges initiative process has had its own share of blackmails and threats to the whole process if the proposals by a section of key stakeholders in the report are anything to go by. Council of Governors has already threatened to oppose the report if their proposals will not be considered. Members of the county assemblies have as well raised their proposals. The BBI process will require at least 24 county assemblies to adopt, but with various amendments to the report already raised, and ODM boss Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta are said to be opposed to any such amendments.
We have had everybody, the governors, MCAs, caucus, we have listened to other leaders, and they are not demanding more than 10 issues. The question we are asking, if you cannot address 10 issues, and we are agreeing with the rest of this document, why do you want to shy away from those issues?
After a 2-day retreat in Naivasha, governors are pushing for an amendment to the BBI report to remove the term limit for governors. About 22 governors are already serving their second term, meaning they are not eligible for re-elections as governors in 2022. They are also pushing for the introduction of the deputy ministers who will be picked from parliament. They have also proposed for the entrenchment of the summit, the National Council for County Legislatures, as well as the Council of Governors in the Constitution, as well as entrenchment of regional economic blocks in the Constitution. On the disbursement of funds to the counties, governors are proposing the disbursement be implemented within 14 days of the passage of the Division of Revenue Act. They also want, in addition to the 35% all monies held by parastatals in the national government departments performing default functions, be transferred to counties.
To ensure timely release of funds to be dispersed to counties, the disbursement schedule as prescribed by legislation should be submitted to the Central Bank of Kenya by the Speaker of the Senate for implementation within 14 days.
Other proposals include the allocation of 10% of total budget be allocated to agriculture, as well as 30% allocation to health and at least 2.5% to the youth function. Governors also want the National Treasury to be established as an independent institution to serve both levels of government and 2 IFMI systems to be adopted, one for the national government and another for the county governments. On elections, governors want the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission devolved to 47 counties and deputy governors to remain as running mates and should be either gender. Deputy President William Ruto on his Twitter account says, I quote, "It is wrong to reduce the constitution repair process in BBI to Uhuru Raila affair. It is ours collectively. We are either all in or cornered. We must build bridges to the church, pastoralists, devolved units, and others to achieve consensus." Meanwhile, evangelical churches leaders have raised their voice on the BBI report, saying they will present fresh proposals to the report. Church leaders accused the political class of ignoring them for long.
When the BBI team task force started off, we presented our desires and our memorandum to them. Up to and including now, what we can say is the church has been ignored. Yes. In other words, those concerned are taking the church for granted.
Yeah. They say that the BBI report should accommodate proposals from close to 8 million Pentecostals in the country. Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Josh Onsare, for that report. Let's get to some international but regional news now. And Inanga Takzim, a partnership resulting from a fusion of Rwanda's traditional music and Takzim, a piece of music which precedes the performance of classic and traditional Middle Eastern, Arabic and Turkish composition, is gaining momentum and is trending in Rwanda. Diana Iriza tells us why.
Hild Kanut says her dance career is characterized with many travels to different places, learning different kinds of dances from Indian dance to Afro-Brazilian, contemporary, Spanish flamenco, and many others. However, after seeing the Rwandan traditional dance for the first time in 2016, she could see how special this dance was and that she knew that she had to move to Rwanda.
4 years ago, I happened to be in Rwanda visiting family, and I saw traditional female Rwandan dancers for the first time. And I was moved by their fluidity, their femininity, and I knew that I had to study this dance. So since that it's hard to find teachers around the world, I knew I had to just move here. Inanga Taksim originally was a collaboration between me and an Inanga player called Deo Munyakazi. He's very well known here in Rwanda. We were working with traditional songs where I was dancing my own style of fusion dance, combining different dance styles from around the world. And we were just working together whenever I happened to be in the country.
Composed of 5 members, the project Inanga Taksim, according to Canute, encompasses 3 different important elements: the celebration of different cultures, the celebration of music and dance, and celebrating female artists. A few days ago, they released the project's debut song Numwitiranye, a fusion of flamenco music and Rwandan traditional music. TV47 spoke to Aline Sangwa, a Rwandan choreographer, to share with us what it's like to share the Rwandan culture with the rest of the world.
We are proud of sharing our culture with others, with those people from foreign countries, and we are happy to learn from them what they have about the music.
How we make the fusion, so I can play the melody, sound melody, and then the guitarist come, and also the drums put there something, then we make a best fusion of African music. The people was excited about what we did, and because I think this is the first time we meet together as Inanga Taksim. So people see Inanga with some instrument and different culture, so it was really amazing to people, and they are proud of what we did.
Inanga Taksim music also features talented darbuka player, Egyptian drum Regis Tagijimana, guitarist Papi Israel, who is strongly inspired by Spanish flamenco.
Well, from Rwanda, where Taksim